Alrighty, what do we got? Oh, different kind of topic. I work in admissions for a treatment center and I struggle with boundaries and support for parents looking to get their kid into treatment. Is there advice you can give me? Is more specifically, I can relate to this, and I think she went on a little bit, but these families flip flop, flounder, like he wants treatment, for anyone, and I know you do a training because I sat in on it, so we can talk about that. But
Yeah.
for admissions, the people on the front lines, is there any help you can, for those parents calling? Because I know it. I've lived it for many, many years. I hear friends and mom and dad. Well, I think he want, I think we're in now. And it's just back and forth and doing the Google searches and stuff. I mean, and I know what she's coming from. Do I take that hard boundary? Do I take, support, saying kind of this hard truth with a mom and dad that may not want to hear it, that drives them away? I know they have a boss to answer to. What happened to Jim and Jane? Well, I told them to hold this boundary, and what I'm saying. Is there any advice you can give?
Sure, absolutely. I think when it comes to when you work in a treatment center or work in the addiction business at all, one of the most important things you can do with the client, and I would say, whether it's a potential client or an actual client, is you have to offer them education. Because I get this call all the time, by the way, and we definitely should talk about the training because we have another one lined up. Is that you don't want to turn into the crisis hotline, and that's what I hear a lot from people in the treatment business. We're like, oh my God, they just don't stop calling. And every day it's like, did they eat breakfast? Did they tie their shoes? Did they wear clean clothes? Did they brush their teeth? And it's like, okay, stop. You're exhibiting signs of someone that needs to really take care of yourself. That's once the person's in the facility. The beginning part of like, they can't make up their mind. They have a decision-making disorder, as we like to say. And I think it's important to help them understand, help the family understand the reality of the situation. So one of the things that I feel strongly about, and this is in my book, and this is in my training and in my videos, is to say, look, let's talk about what addiction is and what it isn't. Let's first decipher whether or not your person, your child, whatever, truly has a problem, and if they do, then we can go down the decision tree. I think sometimes people, when they're kind of freaked out and stressed out and don't know what to do, they kind of need a path to follow, and we're not leaving sort of, we're not trying to hustle them, we're trying to make an intelligent decision. One of the chapters in my book, Families and Addiction, is how to pick a treatment center and what to expect and what to look for and what does it look like. And I think as a treatment center, that's the best information you can give someone, and just tell them up front. A couple weeks ago, right, I went up to Turnbridge in New Haven, Connecticut, and the CEO was really clear cut and straightforward. He's like, we're a 9-month program and we have a 95% success rate. And he goes, I swear to God, every family we talk to wants to negotiate that. And we're like, it's non-negotiable. Because anytime we go under the 9-month threshold, we start losing our success rate. And then who's the bad guy? It's not the family for saying we only want them to go for 3 months. It's us because we failed. So I think there's something about being true to yourself in the industry and not being harsh or mean or trying to put the screws to them or scare them into treatment. It's about saying, hey, look, I want you to understand, if your kid is experiencing, the inability to control or stop, always saying this time it's going to be different, and then the inability to ask for help, then he's got a problem. Let's get him some help. And here's what we offer. And I'll tell you something. My dad was a salesman. My dad was the 5th generation salesman in our family, and I was the 6th. One time I was running around Oregon selling some credit company. It was a great job. I loved it. Great people. And I was talking to my dad on the phone one time, and I said, one of the things I've noticed is, one of the things he taught me was, You want your clients calling you for a product they know you don't sell, but you know the guy and they trust you. So your guy is going to be trustworthy. And so I tell people that in our business, in the addiction business, I want to be able to hand a family to you and have them say, wow, we talked to Jay, and it turns out his program is not the solution, but he turned us on to Josh, and Josh's program's perfect. You have just created trust. And there's nothing more valuable than that in our environment, because they're going to remember that. They're going to remember that Jay took care of me, even though we didn't go to his space. And I know that the people that are freaked out about jobs and money and filling spreadsheets and quotas, that's going to freak them out. But I got to tell you, I've noticed the really good places, that's how they operate. The solid places, they're the first ones to say, we are not your solution. And we want to help you find the right solution. So to me, as the admissions person, that's a credible, what you want to do is help them make a decision, right? But you let them make the decision. You're just giving them data. And then you help them with the decision tree. So how do you do that? Well, funny you should ask. You sign up for my class on Monday, December 5th. It's on the website. It'll be going out. We're doing lots of social media. We had our first one last Monday. It went really, really well. And it's a great program. It's about 4 hours long. It's $400. And I think it's worth every penny. And I know you enjoyed it. And the part I really enjoyed that you talked about was I encourage everyone to bring a case study like this, and we can talk about it and throw around ideas and how to solve the problem. And I think that's what really, really, really makes the difference. So,
well, I'm going to say this, what you hit on, and as from my point of view, going with managing admissions teams, marketing teams, being, all doing all the jobs and so forth. Here's sitting in on your training. I came to this light bulb moment that you broke down codependency, addiction. I lived that. I know exactly what I fail to connect with is that mom and dad on the other end doesn't know that. And so I find that all too often, myself included, we skip over the education piece and go right into, well, Johnny needs to come and you need to do this. And, you're a stranger on that phone. I loved what you said, and I can learn from, because there was someone in the training that did not have a background. They get on the phone, and the first thing I was like, God, Kevin, everyone knows this. And one lady raises her hand and says, this is unbelievable and informative. Like, she didn't know that. And we have to realize that the mom and dad on the other line don't know what codependency, addiction. So the pure education piece, that builds trust, which you're ultimately saying. And I couldn't agree more with the people. That's what I pride myself. I know, Kevin, it's never been my place or the highway. It's always been, here's the perfect fit. And it's karma. Like, if you work with the good people, they'll call you when your place is appropriate. And then you call, fear is powerful, Kevin. Fear is powerful. But I cannot stress enough, if you're working in the front lines within this industry, take the training. You'll learn a ton.
Yeah.
Every mission team, marketing team should be on this. So.
Yeah. And I think the point you just made about the fear, the family being in crisis and freaking out, and they're like, we need a solution right now. I understand that, but there's good decisions are not made in haste. Mm-hmm. You can take that moment and slow it down. And I always tell people, like, on the first time I meet with a family and they're like, we need it now. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll tell you what, we're going to meet for an hour. I want to gather data, gather information, figure out what's going on. And I promise you, at the end of the hour, we will have a plan. But you have to work with me here, And then when I can get them to slow down and take a breath, then they start sort of sharing information with me. I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, good to know. Good to know. Okay, great. And then we start building rapport. So anyway,